And now Janer has the pleasure to introduce you machine learning in identity recognition, and he's one of the Estonian upcoming unicorn founders from Veriff. Let's see what's the story of Veriff.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Janer, and I am the COO and co-founder of Veriff. What's my goal here today is to explain you how Veriff already today and in the future will help people save time, save money, and feel more secure in the online world. Where should I point this? I can just say next as well, then we can move faster through. Now it works. Thanks. I have a small summer cottage in Hobulaiu where we go with my family. There's like 10 households there. Let's call it a small, like a village. Who doesn't know Hobulaiu is right next to Haapsalu. So there's a tiny village where there are approximately 20 people go there and know each other. You know whom to trust, and maybe in some villages whom not to trust. But if we're talking about the village, which is 7 billion people, and we call this village an online society where people come and go, then the trust issue becomes a problem. There are definitely, we started to solve the problem from the compliance perspective for online banks, but we reached pretty quickly to marketplaces and on-demand services. I think the easiest to show the example of why identities are bringing trust is actually, first of all, Airbnb, which is offering your home to a total stranger who you don't know, or there's Urban Sitter, which is an marketplace or on-demand service for renting a babysitter. So combining marketplaces, on-demand services, and fintechs together, identities actually bring trust there. To actually give you a more vivid example, as a picture shows more than 1,000 words, is please meet Karel. Karel is the CEO and founder of Veriff. To point to the picture, if we would just look at his document picture, how easy it is actually to forge this. It takes medium skill of Photoshop to change a couple of data fields on the document. So in this case, document number, date of expiry, and that's it. And with human eye, without being a total professional, it's kind of impossible to understand which one is fake and which one is not. So in order to paint you the problem that we're actually solving with Veriff is two major things. First of all, there's this classical comic that nobody on the internet knows you're a dog. And our goal is to make sure that you actually know who's the dog. So there's no trust on the internet. And second, companies, businesses lose money. Customers and their identities are stolen. They're fooled. And third, fraud is such a fast-developing, so to say, sector that it's hard to build regulatory defenses that would last a long time. But these are only a handful of examples. There's more and more to show how fast actually the fraud in monetary value is developing and how fast the anti-fraud companies and the sector is developing as well. So what we do in Veriff is we protect online businesses and definitely the customers to prevent online identity fraud. The company was founded in 2015, and there's investors who believe in what we do, and there's people who are joining the cause to fight against online identity fraud. 200 plus. Last year, it was approximately 20 of us, 30. So growing pretty fast. But how do you actually, yes, we know this, but how do you actually fight fraud as a company? It's building layers because defenses age, and we need to build multiple layers of protection against it and replace those layers in time. So customers actually add our Veriff into their onboarding flow. Their customers show their document and do a portrait photo, and then we analyze thousands of parameters in a matter of seconds with the help of artificial intelligence. But how does it actually feel like to verify yourself with Veriff? So if someone asks what we do, is we usually say a person comes, we verify themselves, and that's it. So it's pretty much like this. First, you choose a document that you have with you. Then you do a quick portrait photo. You take a photo of the front side of the document, the back side of the document, and that's it. It should be simple because AI actually helps us to put a lot of this analysis into the background in order to make it simple and really short. So, as I stated, we use AI, but it's a tool, not a goal for us. If we're talking about what happens actually afterwards when a person has gone through the verification and committed their data to us, is that we analyze thousands of parameters, as I said. And if we wouldn't have AI, we would need actually hundreds and thousands of employees or people who work on one verification session, because we analyze the device information, we analyze the behavioral information, we analyze facial biometrics, we analyze the document. There's a lot of data points that we need to analyze in order to make sure that the person is who they claim to be. And that's why without AI, it would be impossible. But if we're talking about the goal of how we actually operate, it clearly needs ethical guidelines inside the company as well. As stated, sometimes you need to be self-regulatory in order to move fast and have a good moral compass. So for us, the first one is to serve the common good. Yet again, we analyze complex problems with the help of AI. Limited application. AI, as I stated, is not a goal. It's a tool to do those analysis. We can't and we shouldn't measure how those identities are actually used, but our goal is to make sure that Juhan is Juhan and Mari is Mari. Safeguards and recourse, as it's important that we actually show the people that we verify the transparency, how the decision came up to be as much as we can without letting it become super transparent to the fraudsters, so that they have an option that if we make a false decision actually to come and say that, hey, please let the human actually overlook this. Neutral and fair. I think this is in the whole sector of online identity verification, this is the biggest challenge. How can you actually provide neutrality if, in our case, majority of our customers that we actually offer this service is from US and Europe, where we have actually more verifications coming in. So for different regions, we actually operate in a hybrid model that if we can't be sure that we make the right decision, we actually are going to use humans for that until we make sure. So 100% automation is impossible in our case. And definitely the people first. The goal is to work with regulators, legislators, to work together and bring all the parties together, that we actually work together with businesses. We have to work together with end users. We have to work together with regulators and combine them together to actually come up with the best possible way to protect the good people in the online world. And before I actually end, this is the main reason why every Monday I come to work with a huge smile on my face, and I know that's why we have done such a leap in the amount of people that actually are working on this goal. Is the bigger purpose that we're actually building is creating a single global identity for everyone on Earth. Thanks.
Thank you. And we have also Slido question from the audience. So How does Veriff deal with identical twins?
Yes, that's the thing which, if we're looking from the automation perspective or the human perspective, it's a challenge to both in the sense. And this is where we take the best half of the so-called AI or the automation and the best half of human to bring it together. So there's definitely room for error, but which is important inside of the culture as well in the company is to actually learn from the mistakes and not redo them. So, yeah.
Good. Any catchbox questions from the audience? I have a couple of ones before we jump into the broader debate. So we're moving into the panel of security and policing. Where else could your technology be applied?
If we're looking at a little bit to the longer where the whole sector is going and why the whole sector is kind of blooming, where you need online identity. It doesn't matter in the future, you don't need in the hotels to actually someone to check into. You can take your phone, verify your identity, and actually get a lock card or something, use your phone to lock the door. It's even governments, when you're doing elections, you need identity. If you go to a store, an Amazon store, you need identity to actually the goods to be billed from your accounts. There's definitely more and more sectors that we don't even know it's possible to be online are moving towards that direction.
Mm-hmm. But how about ethical borders in using it everywhere? Where do you think the border will go?
I think this is in terms of AI, this is the biggest question, and this is why we need to have ground rules that we need to be ethical in everything that we do. So far, the ethicality principle is that we are using, if we are not sure enough that we can actually provide ethicality, then we have humans jumping in and making sure. So definitely there's a lot of questions coming up even in the long run, but this is something that we need to be already have the policy in place internally, that these are our guidelines that we operate by.
All right, and how else could we assure that technology will not be misused even if we have some guidelines?
I think it's set again a little bit with layers, that if we have layers for fraud, it's layers internally as well, that we always need to have different processes to actually make sure that every time we are looking over this and verifying, did we make a falsified decision or not.
Good. More questions. How do you store data on people's faces in documents?
Securely. Definitely, as we're having customers from US, from EU, so far we have seen that in order to comply with regulations that are coming from the banking customers, marketplaces, or for example, renting a e-scooter in Austria, there's a company like this using our service, we need to go with the highest standard, and it's definitely so far banking. So at the moment, we store them in EU because of the regulations that support it, and yeah.
Mm-hmm. And there's a technical question as well. Google TensorFlow is good tool to automate different activities. How much you use tools like that, and how much you use your own code?
Definitely in the beginning, if you're starting off, it's in order to move fast, it's not to build the wheel again, using as much as possible which is built. TensorFlow definitely one of them, but as far as further we are going, if we're talking about online identity verification and, for example, comparing face recognition, then face recognition wasn't built to actually compare document photos with the portrait photos in the sense. So definitely there's a line when we need to come up with our own solutions.
Mm-hmm. All right. Do we have a catch box for any of the people interested in identity-specific questions? No hands right now. So let's give a warm round of applause for Janer. Thank you.
Thanks.